welcome to the 36th edition of Cinte Café. Bienvenidos a esta edición número 36. It's great to see you here in this beautiful venue, and as you can see, climate change is real. Just to give you some perspective, this week we're going through the tropical wave number 45 this year, and it's not over yet. So there could be a lot of discussions these 2 days about this and about mitigation. Please, join us to discuss. But it's a new reality for us and for the whole world. I was hoping to start the day by sharing great news about EUDR. And as many of you probably have read this morning, the European Parliament took a vote this morning. They approved some changes on the regulation regarding country risks, but the delay is not official. It was not approved. It requires further discussion and maybe another vote somewhere in December. So I invite you to attend the EUDR panel tomorrow. Definitely it's going to be a great source of information. I also encourage you to continue working on compliance and don't study for the test the night before. This is definitely a must. A few days ago, I was trying to do a recap of 2024 to share with you. And we have seen, as Michelle mentioned, an inverted market, high interest rates, high volatility in Arabica prices and Robusta prices, logistic issues in different ports, dry weather in Brazil, crazy weather in other parts of the world, not to mention serious conflicts worldwide. So 2024 has been challenging, but the truth is that every year is challenging. I have been in this business for 28 years, and it has given me some of the best satisfactions, and I'm not talking financially, great friendships, and at the same time, some of the worst nightmares I've had. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this. But it's also a great industry where people continue drinking coffee every day, and more importantly, we have the great opportunity of making a difference in the lives of people involved. And that is what Cinte Café is about. We have been working hard to put together an interesting program with presentations, roundtables, workshops, copings. The event actually started 2 days ago with farm visits with our partners of WCR, La Eva. Many of you visited your local partners. CQI hosted its board meeting for the past 2 days. So in summary, I truly hope that you enjoy the program and your stay in rainy Costa Rica. Thank you again for being here. I now have the great honor of introducing a good friend and our keynote speaker, Senor Cyrille Jannet. Cyrille is a board member and serves as Vice President of the Swiss Coffee Trade Association based in Geneva, Switzerland. He is currently the Managing Director of Keurig Trading, where he oversees all green coffee procurement and sourcing activities, and the overall commodities risk management for Keurig Dr. Pepper Group. He began his career 25 years ago in the highlands of Chiapas, Mexico, as a younger coffee buyer, where he had the chance to broaden his expertise on coffee quality, sourcing, and what does it take to engage responsibly with the coffee community. He then joined a private label roasting company, Community, hired by UCC, as a group buying director based in Geneva, in Switzerland. Cyrille is an accomplished licensed Q Arabica and Robusta grader, coffee processing scores level 2, and serves as a trustee of the CQI board. Cyrille lives in Lausanne, Switzerland with his wife and 2 kids, and when able, he spends time in outdoor activities, enjoying the Swiss Alps and sailing around the world. So please join me in welcoming Cyrille.
Muchas gracias, Arnoldo. ¿Me escuchan bien? ¿Sí? Gracias por la invitación, gracias por la introducción, gracias por estar aquí, gracias por el clima tan bonito también de Costa Rica. Es un gran gusto estar ahí. Y también le quiero aprovechar que estar aquí para, más a nombre quizás de la ICTA, que organizamos conferencias de una forma cada año. Sabemos que la industria del café está viviendo momentos de crisis, momentos de facing muchos riesgos. El EUDR es un buen ejemplo, la volatilidad del EUDR, pero también muchos otros riesgos en cuanto a mercado, en cuanto a logística en cuanto a cambio climático, etcétera, etcétera. Y yo creo que tenemos un rol como asociaciones, como aquí Sintercafé, como el CTA, como el ICF, como otras organizaciones de Brasil, de poder gather the coffee community y poder address together cuáles son los topics relevantes, lo que tenemos que encontrar soluciones, porque together we are stronger. Yo creo que ese es Forum, lo que han creado aquí en Sintercafé desde hace muchos años, pero viendo la calidad de los panelistas, de los topics que hay entre hoy y mañana, o sea, quiero de veras felicitar a todo el equipo de Sintercafé, en particular a Noelia. Quiero que le demos un round of applause por la conferencia que han puesto hoy y mañana. Y ahora, entonces soy Cyrille, estoy basado en Suiza, como dijo Arnoldo, y hoy les quiero platicar un poquito de la historia de KDP. Who is KDP? Who we are? KDP is a relatively new company who's been created just 6 years ago, and I want to walk through today about, as a modern beverage company, who we are, what do we do, how do we look the coffee segments within the broader beverage sector, and what do we believe that the power of partnership is one of the secret sauce that makes the value proposition of Keurig unique and valuable for the whole coffee industry. And last but not least, getting into the bit innovations, what's coming next in terms of coffee developments at KDP, but also for the coffee sector, and also having a look about reinventing the single-serve segments that KDP has been created kind of 20 years ago. I know is already looking about what's next for the single-serve segments in the US and Canada. So just quickly to cover about KDP, because from some of you it might not be very clear who we are, what we do. Today, this is a $15 billion company. This is publicly listed in the NASDAQ in the US. We have around 125 unlicensed and partners beverage brands. We have 30 manufacturing sites, and we are present in Canada, in the US, and Mexico. And again, this is a result of a merge that happens just 6 years ago when the pure coffee players, the inventor of single-serve segments in the US, Keurig Green Mountain, merged with Dr. Pepper Snapple, who's being a challenger beverage company, mostly focusing on the cold beverages. Challengers against two big beverage companies, the two biggest beverage companies in the world, the red systems and the blue system. I'm not talking to the US elections, I'm talking about the US, the red system being Coca-Cola and the blue system being Pepsi. So Dr. Pepper Snapple has been for many years being the challenger, and also there is so many questions about does it make any sense to combine hot coffee business with the beverage company? And what is the purpose? What is the visions? What is the interest? And for us, from the coffee perspective, where is the opportunity? That is maybe the journey I'm going to walk with you in the next few minutes to explain what's the value and what is also interesting for us as a coffee industry. So just quickly about where we are now. So we have three main businesses: the US refreshment beverages, which is on the left-hand side, where we have a leading category in mixers, flavor CSDs, premium waters, premium ready-to-drink tea, apple juice. We see we are number one or number two in all these categories. This is primarily in the US. This is not just coffee focused. The coffee business is $4 billion out of the $15 billion total turnover, and this is basically about the single-serve coffee systems, but there is more to come, and I'll get into it in a few minutes. And then, last but not least, we also have a footprint not only in the US, but also in Canada and in Mexico. In Mexico, which is closer to Costa Rica, you might have heard about the Grupo Peñafiel, which is very well known from premium water for CSDs and some other drinks with leading positions, as you see, flavor CSD, mineral water, tomato, seafood juice, the famous Clamato, and some even low-alcohol cocktails. The single-serve coffee systems is primarily for Canada, which is not yet existing and being launched in Mexico. That's another opportunity for KDP in the next few years. So moving on about, in terms looking at the breadth of the portfolio of KDP, we have more than 125 own licensed and partners brands. If you see, this is segmentations per turnover, which is pretty striking to see that Dr. Pepper is a $1 billion brand. The Keurig system is another $1 billion plus brands. Canada Dry is also $1 billion brands. In the segments of the $500 million, we have more than 11 brands here who are doing extremely well. You see some CSD. CSD stands for Carbo Soft Drinks, sodas, basically. 7-Up, and we also have here AW, which is the leading root beer in the US, C4, which is the new energy drinks launcher in the US, Clamato, again, it's very famous in Canada, but also in Mexico, tomato paste. And then regarding the coffee brands, or $400 million and plus, we have GMCR, which is an iconic and founding brand of KDP, created in a bit more than 30 years ago in Vermont, in the East Coast in the US. And then McCafe, which is a brand not owned by KDP, but what's called a licensed brand. And I'll get into it about what does that mean, license versus a partner, because this one of the secret sauce of KDP is having this ability to provide to the consumer not only conveniency, affordability, consistency in experience of drinking a great cup of coffee, but also the choice of multiple brands, the choice of multiple licensed brands, in order not to feel handcuffed, but on the contrary, to have the ability to replicate experience they may have away from home, at home, in a vast variety of brands. This is kind of a unique value proposition, and I'll get into it in a minute. So focusing now on the coffee category. This is, since the merge in 2018, we say we have added 10 million households to the queuing systems. What does that mean? Today, we are present in 40 million households in the US and in Canada. 40 million households are today enjoying the queuing systems. What does that mean? In the US, we have around 95 million households who are coffee drinkers. We have in total 120 million households in the US and Canada, especially in the US, 120 million households. 30 million households are still not enjoying coffee. Let's give them a break, and we'll get into it in a minute. 95 of these million households are today enjoying coffee. The primary systems you have in the US, what is it? This is a classic drip coffee system. So the value propositions of Keurig is convincing these consumers to jump from the classic drip coffee systems to the Keurig system. And why would you do that? Because you have a convenient propositions. By touching the buttons, it's very simple to get access to the single-serve systems. You also have affordability. You might replicate the away-from-home experience at home in the most cost-efficient way. And you also have a consistent cup of coffee. And of course, which is really important, is about choice with a multiple range of brands. Since the very beginning, the value propositions of Keurig has been created by integrating brands, not to feel, again, handcuffed with one single coffee system, one single brand. I'm based in Lausanne, Switzerland. Lausanne, Switzerland, guess what is the household penetrations in terms of coffee systems? It's not 40% that we have in the US. It's close to 85%. And it's 85% with many different coffee systems competing against each other. Delizia, Nespresso, Dolce Gusto, Tassimo, Lavazza, Illy, so many different coffee systems on top of the regular drip coffee system. So it's a very mature and highly competitive when every single brand is fighting against each other. The value propositions of KDP is very, very different. First, we only have one major single coffee system, which is Keurig, at scale. But with this coffee system, you have access, again, to the multiple range of brands. So that makes the 40% market share we have today, the household, we believe we can still duplicate to go closer to the 70 or 80% of household penetration, similar in Europe, in the US, and being in a leader and having also this ability to convince consumers to join into the Keurig ecosystems because they will not lose the ability to enjoy their own coffee they are really enjoying at the office, away from home, or in other place, because the core of our business is definitely at home. So there is still an amazing opportunity to duplicate the coffee market in terms of single serve. It's just another starting point. 25 years ago, this market did not exist. Today, 50% of the retail value in the US is single serve. 50%. That's amazing. Yes, in terms of value creations for the brands, owners, for KDP, for the retailers, and for our licensees. Yeah. How do we convince more consumers to join the Keurig ecosystems from the classic drip coffee systems. Basically, we have thousands and thousands of connected brewers in the US with the consent of the consumer, don't get me wrong, that giving us data every single day about why am I enjoying a cup of coffee early in the morning, middays, 6 ounces, 12 ounces. I'm enjoying the coffee with milk, with sugar, what type of coffee, and also what are my other concerns about my coffee. If I'm looking for a better coffee quality, well, this is where we launched the multi-stream. Sorry for the selling pitch here about the queuing system, but just to show you that we have identified the barriers of entries of consumers who have not yet joined the queuing systems, trying to go after this 55 million household, which is the opportunity for Keurig today. Also, we have the batch system. Batch system, what is it? This is basically about, well, I like to enjoy the good cup of coffee with Keurig and the multiple brands, but I want to still enjoy my filter coffee, my regular drip coffee system with my friends. No worries, we can have a system which is compatible with the way you have been drinking coffee at home. The value is very important. Today, there is so much about affordability, and in the consumer spends, as we say, is at risk. We live in a very interesting inflationary environment for the last 2 years, and this is how the consumer is asking us, provide me value propositions, not only for the pots, but also for the brewers. So these machines are less than $50 and usually are being done exclusivity basis with key retailers to make sure that we can attract those consumers who like to replicate in a cost-efficient manner the experience they have away from home, but still in a very cost-efficient manner. Back in the days, myself, when I joined Keurig 10 years ago, the coffee machine used to cost $150, $200, and $250. Very expensive system, still very successful, but now we understand that there is different needs of the consumer that we need to tackle and match. That's why we also have these value propositions. Specialty, of course, is a big trend, and I'll get into it through some of our brands. Experience. The ice is also, I'll get into it, brewing over ice, and also having a bit of a cold brew experience, but there is also a new innovative systems. I'll get into it in a minute, because this is basically a very important segments of the coffee, and it is still underrepresented at home. Away from home, as we know, we'll see the majority of the consumers in a coffee shop are enjoying a cold brew or the ice coffee. At home, we are still more than 20% of the consumers are still enjoying today ice or a cold brew, which means we are still maybe not fully reflecting the reality of their experience away from home. So that's, again, we believe a great opportunity for their Keurig value propositions to go with their specialty, but also with the cold segments. And us, as a modern beverage company, we have so much experience thanks to our leading positions in carbo soft drinks, in mixers, in premium waters. What does it take to produce a cold beverage? This is where the R&D, combining the hot and the cold expertise, makes also very interesting propositions for us and for our partners. And the last one is about modern and having these features. If you want to brew your coffee 20 seconds prior, and also play with the strengths and with different features. So today, Keurig is a leading is a leading single-serve systems for 20 years. But the point I'm trying to make here, there is still, we believe, an amazing opportunity. As far we understand the consumer needs, we address the barriers of entries, and we continue expanding not only the convenience, consistency, affordability, but also the multiple choice that consumer is asking for. So today, where we are, today we have 75 brands in the coffee systems. I mentioned 125 brands initially. That was covering the hot and the cold side of the business. We are really focusing on the hot side of the business. More than 500 plus different varieties. So you see we have national brands in the US. We also have local regional brands. And which is interesting about the Keurig ecosystems is it's a mix of different concepts. I just want to get into it. We have the own brands, which is basically a brands we created as Keurig 25 years ago. One of the very first one is being the GMCR, the Green Mountain Coffee coffee roasters created in Vermont by the Bob Steeler, the founder of the company. And then he has these visions to go into the single sort of segments at home. But initially, GMCR was created to be a high-end specialty coffee company to attack the hospitality market on the East Coast of the US. And then he had these visions to go and to scale his value propositions through the single serve systems. This is how he created Keurig, basically. But always with the very second visions about let's making sure that we are not creating our own closed ecosystem, that is an ecosystem based on partnerships, which makes, again, the value proposition of Keurig very unique. So our own brands, we have GMCR, Donut Shops, and some other very well known. Donut Shop is the biggest SKU, selling SKUs in the systems. Then we have our licensed brands, very important licensed brands, McCafe, Caribou, Krispy Kremes, and then we have also Lavazza, La Colombe, and some others. And then we have what we call partners brands. So partners brands is a different partnership we have with very strong leading brands like Starbucks, Seattle Best, we have Peet's, Ely, Black and Bold, 8 of Coffee. So what does that mean to be a licensed brand or be a partners brands? It's a different value proposition that we can offer to a different type of companies. For McCafe, for example, we do everything for them. We source, we roast, we grind, we pack, and we distribute. From some other partners like Starbucks, they know very well how to source, how to roast. What we do is the packing, basically in the K-Cups formats, and then Starbucks, they have these very good agreements with, as you see here, Nestle Coffee Partners. So NCP or Nestle Coffee Partners does all the distributions in the US at the retail levels. They don't need us. Okay, that's one of the partnership agreement we have with full disclosure. This is public information. So we are kind of flex to the different needs, but the majority of the partners, especially the licensed brands they see the value of benefiting from the amazing distribution network we have as the beverage company. Let's not forget that Dr. Pepper is a carbo soft drink who's been distributed in every single places in the US because we have more than 10,000 people driving every single day, finished products, cold beverages, waters, premium waters, and so on, to every single locations in the US, gas stations, hospitality, restaurants, hotels, retails, distribution centers, and so on and so forth. So there is value for these licensed brands, especially for the licensed brands, or for some partners to benefit not only from the single serve format, but also from the distribution network, which is kind of unique. And that's why you don't have that many big beverage companies actually in US and Canada, because the scale of the distributions requires you to have a very in-depth distribution network, being direct or being indirect through distribution centers. So that's why today we have different strategy, but in order to make the ecosystem, as we call it, for KDP successful, we want to tackle different type of needs for own brands, for licensed brands, and for the partners brands. Of course, it hasn't been done in just 1 year. It took us almost 20 years to get there. Okay, we started, I would say, onboarding at the very beginning. You see, kind of following the waves, and don't take me for this is our own descriptions of the waves. It might be very subjective, but just trying to summarize about the different momentum when we included brands. The first wave is about bringing quality and value. Here we have Folger, Maxwell House, 8 O'Clock. The second wave was about more coffee house-centric brands like Starbucks, Peet's, and Caribou. The third wave, more recently, is more about specialty coffee, single origins like Intelligentsia, La Colombe, Fields Coffee. And the fourth one, which is even more recent, is more about looking at celebrities, lifestyles, community brands. Here we have Rolling Stones, Black and Bold, and we have the Horizons. A brand has been developed with Kevin Costner. I enjoyed the movie in the plane 2 days ago. Yeah, the Far West movie, it's fun. And he's drinking a decent coffee. That's good. We are also very proud in 2024, to include the new premium brands into the systems like Colombe, Fields Coffee, Lavazza, because we try not only to provide an affordable product, but also to continue to expand the brand's breadth for the consumer choice. And this is just an example about Lavazza. We've been doing for Lavazza the sourcing, the roastings, the grinding, the packings, but Lavazza was still, let's say, trying to get to distribute their own product in the US and Canada. And believe it or not, Lavazza is a very well-known brand in Europe, in origin countries, but they still have a lot of work to do to have access to the US and Canada at the retail levels and many distribution centers, and also to pitch the story as a European-based premium coffee company. So this is how they see the value of benefiting from the distribution network we have, and also the strengths we have when we go into the retail, presents the variety packs, which is basically offering to the retailers 120 counts of 20, 30, 50 different brands, including Lavazza. So Lavazza can benefit also when we are negotiating with the retailers, the amazing, let's say, the breadth of brands that we are proposing at the retail level, okay? So I think that's a good example because we are very proud to see that Lavazza is trusting us to be able to represent them in the whole country. Lavazza also acquired recently Kicking Horse, which is a premium roasting company in Canada, in the Rocky Mountains, #1 in whole beans in the whole Canada. And now they moved into the curing systems because, again, they see another platform to grow their sales and also to promote their brand and to build more equity for the brand Kicking Horse, which we are super proud to be in a journey with such a critical company like Lavazza. Now, I just want to move on into innovations, and then we'll go into the future of single serves. So this is a really important information we have here on these slides about how coffee as a beverage is competing versus many other segments in the beverage sector. If you go from left to right, the energy sector, $23 billion. Look at the growth we have for the last 3 years, 12% of a compound annual growth rate. What does that mean? That's a strong category with a strong spends, which is growing at the double digits. As a modern beverage company, as an investor, where would you like to invest? You like to invest in a category which is showing growth, potential, opportunity. That's why the energy category is doing a fantastic job, but look at the size of the category. This is amazing. Yeah. And then the premium water, $12 billion, 8% growth for the last 3 years. Sports hydrations, $11 billion, 12% growth. And then the ready-to-drinks that we discussed so many times in coffee, $4 billion. This is still significant, even though the growth is being 5% for the last 3 years. It's not to the same pace as the energy, the premium water, and the sport hydrations. And believe it or not, the ready-to-drink category is competing versus these other categories. So don't see coffee as an isolated category with hot and a bit of a cold. Coffee has to be seen within the broader beverage portfolio, and this is where, as an investor, you're always looking for growth and opportunity in a growing category. There is a new category that has been created just a few years ago, which is the alcohol alternative. Big focus from Pepsi, from Coca-Cola, even from KDP, and look at the growth, 80%. So that's again, we have to see it as a competitor for the coffee segment. Yeah, believe it or not. Super premium pods, that's what we've been, I already shared the example of La Colombe, Lavazza, but just to switch, getting back to La Colombe, this is a premium roaster, really pleased to have them as in the K-Cup segments at the top premiums, but also they have developed a really interesting technology to make what they call here the draft latte, and I highly encourage you to have a taste. Unfortunately, I don't have any with me right now, but they're really doing an amazing job, and we've been investing in these brands also to have access to the technology, because we believe they have cutting-edge technology in terms of consumer experience for all this latte product in a ready-to-drink. So very promising and very encouraging. And this is part of the $4 billion segments I mentioned before for the ready-to-drink, in that case, the chef's table ready-to-drink category. Moving on to some innovations that we are focusing on. So, shared about ice, super premiums, celebrity and lifestyles like Kevin Costner for the Horizon ones, and of course the specialty. Why specialty and ice is so important for us? So here I'm just taking a quick look at the in-store menu of our dear partner, which is one of the most successful partners we have in curing systems, Starbucks. You look at Starbucks, this is pretty striking data. 10% of the coffee, of the hot coffee represents only 10% of the beverages. Specialty is 21%. You add up 10 to 21, that's 31%. So you have 31% of beverages at the Starbucks coffee shops is on the hot side. Everything else is on the cold side. And you look at the variety of her cold menu, it's pretty striking. In terms of customizations, premiumizations, we know there is a whole topic also about affordability, but just look at the premiumization and customizations. This is a very interesting value proposition that we are looking at to replicate also in a queuing system. That's why we are really focusing on the cold and also on the specialty. Again, in a queuing systems, only 1/3 of the consumers today are enjoying a cold drinks in the at-home single-serve systems, when in the coffee shops, it's 2/3. So there is an interesting opportunity to trying to develop much more the offering of the cold beverages. And this is where we just launched, we're super proud about that one, these new machines. I haven't seen it yet, it's just been launched in the market a few weeks ago, what we call the K-Brew and Chill. So basically it's taking 3 minutes to brew a coffee and to chill it. There is an additional features in the systems, you chill it, and then that makes a cold beverage. So this is the curing versions of the cold beverage at home in the cost efficiency, with convenience, affordability, and consistency. I haven't tested, I cannot tell you how good is it, but for the time being, we have very good reviews from the market, and we are really excited about this new development, because that's what we try to do, is to meet the evolving consumer needs, especially for the new generations, which is really turning into the cold side rather than the hot side. I'm not saying the hot side is dead, or this is the past, but there is much more appetite today and away from home for cold beverages. And now moving on to the single-serve segments that we are. I'd like to play a video, yes, enough of me talking, so we can short about, yes, can you play the video, Noelia, about the single-serve of the future?
Coffee.
Can you
It's
switch off the
literally
lights?
the first thing I do after I wake up in the morning.
It's sort of like a warm hug and a kick in the pants all at the same time.
I'm on now probably my 10th cup today.
There is nothing more universal than coffee. It's a uniting force.
Before Keurig was around, there was one way to make coffee for just about everybody in America: by the pot.
We disrupted the coffee category about 30 years ago. We were the inventors of single-serve coffee.
One cup at a time, your cup personalized.
Now, we're getting ready to disrupt the category again.
Coffee will never be the same.
Innovation is absolutely essential in coffee because consumers have forever changing taste. They go to the coffee shop to find out what's a new way to enjoy this marvelous drink. And then they look to us here at Keurig to say, how can I bring those ideas to life in my home?
We talk to thousands and thousands of consumers, and we look to social media to understand the emerging trends. So by the time the consumers realize that they have that need, we have a product for them.
That relentless focus on the consumer's needs is all about convenience, variety, and quality.
Quality is critical, and quality starts with the plant.
As a scientist, the expertise we bring is essentially to find the coffees from different origins that will bring the taste consumers are looking for.
We are buying coffee from more than 20 different coffee regions in the world because we know the consumers, they are looking for to embrace customizations, new taste, new flavors.
We're pushing it further and further and further into the science, all in service of the coffee.
Several years ago, we said, what's stopping us from delivering the next level?
And one of the biggest constraints we've always had has been the packaging itself.
And that's when we said, start from scratch. Don't be constrained by anything. because if you want to be the source of coffee in everyone's household, then you have to reimagine yourself. Introducing the K-Rounds plastic-free pod.
K-Rounds are just freshly roasted ground coffee pressed together and protected by a plant-based coating. You're gonna be able to see the coffee and see all of the different roast levels and grind levels. You'll be able to smell the coffee and enjoy its aroma. This is what is so game-changing about the K-Rounds plastic-free pods. It's really all about the coffee.
The way that we developed this is we said, what are the areas that we've been trying to make the system better? And how do we improve quality and personalization of that cup of coffee at home?
As we were developing the K-Rounds, we went back to basics, went and watched how a barista would make the finest coffee.
Baristas tamp down the coffee before they pull an espresso shot, and we thought, what if we took that a little bit further and actually compacted the coffee enough to have it hold itself together? So that way you don't need that plastic cup anymore.
That plastic cup limited how much coffee you could pack into it, the amount of pressures that the vessel could withstand when brewing. Breaking free of that constraint, it gives us a lot of opportunity to build better and different brewing technology.
With K-Rounds, our ability to design new beverages just expanded.
The K-Rounds are going to be available in an espresso shot size, a double shot size, a traditional coffee size, and even a slightly larger pod for a tall, refreshing cold coffee. And each pod will be marked with a unique brew style code, which, when placed into the Keurig Alta brewer, the brewer will read that code and automatically adjust different brew settings, pressure, flow rate, temperature, to brew that plastic-free pod in the ideal way.
And now every type of coffee that you can get outside the home is now available inside the home, because we know people are always looking for convenience and value. And the last part is sustainability. When the Keurig system was founded, sustainability wasn't really a concept anybody talked about, and we know that's critically important today.
The world needs less waste, and K-Rounds are plastic and aluminum free. We expect K-Rounds to be certified compostable, and we're working through that process now. That's our future.
It's fun, it's novel. You haven't seen anything like it.
When we think about the future of coffee, we have to let our imaginations run wild.
Coffee is limitless. We have so much more to do. We're only beginning.
And that's what excites us at Keurig about continuing to drive the innovation in the coffee space.
We want to have really unique products that consumers look at and they're like, that's for me. That is my coffee journey.
Whatever your perfect cup of coffee is, we want you to be able to experience it every single time the same way. Because there's no better way to start your day.
Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll be testing the new systems. Now we have thousands of brewers in the marketplace. We are beta testings. We are building a new production lines in the U.S. in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and we'll keep you updated on the progress. You know, we still have 40 million households of coffee drinkers who are enjoying the Keurig systems. We don't want to send them the signal that their systems is obsolete. So we'll make sure this is compatible. But imagine to have one single system who gives you plastic-free, compostable, single-serve solutions with the Nespresso, which is going to be the very first time that KDP is proposing an espresso. It's always being a filter coffee, plus cold brew infusions. So very exciting about these new developments, and also it's all about being compostable, eliminating waste, and for us also coming back to the originations of the coffee. You can see the coffee, there is no packaging anymore. I think that for me, for you, being a presence in origins and being connected to the coffee growing community, there is a tremendous opportunity to tell even more the story while the coffee has been produced, where it's coming from, because there is no anymore this packaging who's kind of hiding what's behind it. It's really a coffee product. With that, let me stop here. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for the invitation once again. And I pass the floor to the next speaker. Thank you.